Welcome to Far From Eden. The left is really determined to convince everybody that prejudice exists. There's so much oppression. And they're right. They're just not right about where it's coming from. The backlash against Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butkus is evidence that you're not allowed to be masculine. You're not allowed to celebrate being a real wife, homemaker. You're not allowed to do that. You will be maligned and called names and words that YouTube doesn't even like me to say. Everybody who holds up traditions, even he didn't tell anybody to we should have laws for this. He is a Catholic man speaking at a Catholic university to Catholic students about Catholic doctrine, Catholic beliefs. So I ask you, how does that affect the chick over there who's not religious but spiritual with green hair and she's non-binary? How does that affect her, really? How is it so threatening that he would talk about how beautiful it is to be a homemaker, to want to be a homemaker? That he himself is saying that being a husband and a father should always be his true north. That should always be his focus. Anyway, I saw a couple clips of Harrison's speech. I'm so impressed with so many things about it. The fact that he went and said it. The NFL is do we fire him? Really? Really? Do you know the things that NFL players have been caught doing? Crimes, things that are not just accusations, but things that have been verifiable with video. But this guy's a problem. I'm not Catholic. I am a Protestant woman. So there are things that Catholics believe that I slightly differ on. So I know I'm not threatened when he says certain things and I'm oh, that's more Catholic doctrine, I don't quite believe. Same, but I don't sit here and get offended and angry. I know in a way he's not talking to me. And I understand that when you're looking for wisdom, you don't just, incorporate everything you hear. So I wanted to watch his entire speech. I know there are some controversial things in here. And I thought to myself, well, should I show it? Is it really relevant? Should I just stick to the, when he talks about masculinity and, being a woman and being a man, should I just stick to that? And then I thought, no. This man was brave enough to go out there and say what he said. He had to know he was putting his whole career on the line. He was risking his whole football career and career after that. But he did it anyway. So I thought, this man has something to say that he believes to be so true that he would risk all of that. Probably dreamed of being in the NFL since he was younger. It's that valuable to him. I sure as heck can show it. Maybe there's a few of you that haven't even heard that this is out there, or you haven't even heard it. And I'm thinking, If I'm out here saying that we need to listen to what men have to say, we need to listen, well, then I should do it. I should listen. So we're going to play it. Let's get Harrison. I keep wanting to say Travis because of the whole Taylor Swift. Because when you search Kansas City to find stuff, he pops up. So I apologize if I say that by accident. I'm not feeling 100%. You might hear it in my voice. You might see my posture go down. Sit up, Aaron. Don't want you to be worried. Just explaining. Some of you guys watch a lot of my content. You might notice something's a little off. It's all right. It's just personal stress that goes into multiple sclerosis symptoms, and it happens. So, but things like this, when I see something that I'm like, oh, this is important, it gives me life, you know. It does. It gives me life. So it's important to have purpose. It's important to have a reason. And this is a big part of mine. So let's see here. Okay, I've got him up there, Harrison. All right. And remember how to use your computer. It's important. It helps if you knew how in the first place, so that when the brain fog happens, you're not like, uh-oh. Okay, let's go.
Not unique.
Oops.
Bad policies and poor leadership
have no
have
idea.
negatively impacted major life issues.
I
Things like
rewound it,
abortion.
you guys. I don't know what happened.
Not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia. Not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID.
And there are, unfortunately, plenty of Catholics who do claim to be pro-choice. And they do the whole, well, I would never do it, but who am I to say it for someone else? And a ton of Protestants do the same. And I'm so glad, be it the President of the United States or anybody else, like, if you're gonna be Catholic, right? Why bother? Why bother? You know, is it on purpose to, spit in the face of the religion, of God, of, why? But yeah, he's always like, I'm Catholic. And you're like, well, if you hadn't said it, we wouldn't know it. And that's a problem. And I'm so glad that, brave enough to point it out. Remember, this is at a college. I get it. It's a religious college. You and I both know that, the wokeism and feminism, leftism, communism which is probably all the same thing, has permeated higher learning all the way to the top, and not just in secular universities. We know what the church is like in general, and even a lot of Catholic churches that are less traditional. Everything has been watered down. And I think when you have, I don't look at it this way, and I think a lot of you guys don't either, when you have like people who are supposed to be authority or role models, whatever, like a president, I think it somehow gives permission to the people who look at those people as role models, I think it gives permission to also be lukewarm. Possibly.
Lockdowns. To the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. As members of the church founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. Don't be mistaken, even within the church, people in polite Catholic circles will try to persuade you to remain silent. There even was an award-winning film called Silence, made by a fellow Catholic, wherein one of the main characters, a Jesuit priest, abandoned the church and as an apostate, when he died, is seen grasping a crucifix, quiet and unknown to anyone but God. As a friend of Benedictine College, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron said in his review of the film, it was exactly what the cultural elite want to see in Christianity: private, hidden away, and harmless. Our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that Catholic or Protestant, the left wants to rebrand Jesus as a socialist and as like a nice guy, as a gentle guy. And no, he was counterculture. He was anti-authority, because that authority he was anti was usurping the authority of God. They had become so legalistic in their interpretations and interpretations of interpretations that they had lost connection, really. And he was there to let them know. And he didn't say, follow me and your life is going to be easy. Follow me and you'll never have a hard day. Actually, I don't think you can look at the apostles and say that. So it's interesting that, as Harrison is describing, these days when you see the majority of people who go to church, they're very sweet and nice and polite, and they never say anything. And it's because our whole culture is like, don't be judgmental, don't be judgmental. So we've all lost the ability to discern, right? Like, we're about to see somebody walk off a cliff. You're not allowed to pull them gently not to, because that would be judgmental. Let them go. And obviously that's a metaphor, but it's exactly what he's talking about. And it's so refreshing to hear this. And maybe you're not religious, although if you're not, I doubt you're still watching. But again, I don't believe the bishops or whoever are special. I'm a Protestant, so we're like, we go straight to Jesus. We don't need all that. But I'm not offended by it. And it doesn't mean that there aren't strong truths woven in. And he's not saying anything that's dangerous or destructive.
Of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. But make no mistake, before we even attempt to fix any of the issues plaguing society, we must first get our own house in order, and it starts with our leaders. The bishops and priests appointed by God as our spiritual fathers must be rightly ordered. There's not enough time today for me to list all the stories.
Okay, I'm not Catholic, but I'm Catholic adjacent enough to know that is not only is he saying things that are sort of explosive in today's society, that's explosive in Catholicism to challenge, those the priests and bishops and whatever. Woo! He's not kidding. He's not joking. This man is not trying to make friends. You can't speak truth and make friends at the same time. When you speak truth, you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family. It's just how it's going to be. I know from experience.
Of priests and bishops misleading their flocks, but none of us can blame ignorance anymore and just blindly proclaim that that's what Father said. Because sadly, many priests we are looking to for leadership are the same ones who prioritize their hobbies or even photos with their dogs and matching outfits for the parish directory. It's easy for us laymen and women to think that in order for us to be holy, that we must be active in our parish and try to fix it. Yes, we absolutely should be involved in supporting our parishes, but we cannot be the source for our parish priests to lean on to help with their problems. Just as we look at the relationship between a father and his son, so too should we look at the relationship between a priest and his people. It would not be appropriate for me to always be looking to my son for help when it is my job as his father to lead him. St. Jose Maria Escriva states that priests are ordained to serve and should not yield to temptation to imitate lay people, but to be priests through and through. Tragically, so many priests revolve much of their happiness from the adulation they receive from their parishioners. And in searching for this, they let their guard down and become overly familiar.
Oh, I have seen this in the Christian church. I have seen this. I have seen it where pastors are like, they are so secular seeming. And as he's explaining, like lay people, right? They want to be looked at as cool or like one of you, but better. And he's doing a really good job explaining that. And that whole deal really, it really puts people off of the whole thing. And that's unfortunate because we're humans and we shouldn't do things that make it so that people can't see, who God is or what the truth is, right? Wow. Hey, he's just like, this man is brave. Brave. Speak truth. Say what you know. Yeah.
This undue familiarity will prove to be problematic every time because, as my teammate's girlfriend says, familiarity breeds contempt. St. Jose Maria continues that some want to see the priest as just another man. That is not so. They want to find in the priest those virtues proper to every Christian and indeed every honorable man: understanding, justice, a life of work, priestly work in this instance, and good manners. It is not prudent as the laity for us to consume ourselves in becoming amateur theologians so that we can decipher this or that theological teaching, unless, of course, you are a theology major. We must be intentional with our focus on our state in life and our own vocation. And for most of us, that's as married men and women. Still, we have so many great resources at our fingertips that it doesn't take long to find traditional and timeless teachings that haven't been ambiguously reworded for our times. Plus, there are still many good and holy priests, and it's up to us to seek them out. The chaos of the world is unfortunately reflected in the chaos in our parishes, and sadly, in our cathedrals too. As we saw during the pandemic, too many bishops were not leaders at all. They were motivated by fear of being sued, fear of being removed, fear of being disliked. They showed by their actions fear
of losing their 501c3 tax exempt status, Fear of losing that? Yeah. The churches, the pastors, the fact that they closed down during that whole time, that's unacceptable. People needed them. People needed a place. Sometimes you don't need to have a certain building. There's nothing like woo about the building. That means you're closer to God or he hears your prayers more or what have you. But we're human beings, right? And some people live alone. And it's not the same through a screen, especially when you're dealing with deep pain, overwhelming, paralyzing fear, grief beyond measure. Sometimes you need the human touch. Sometimes you need to hear the human's voice there in person. Sometimes you need to be seen. I'm going to make myself cry. I'm so sorry. Sometimes you need to be seen in person. Those pastors and priests and all those people in charge of the churches, they took people's opportunity to go to a place of worship, the place that's familiar to them. Or maybe they'd never been to a church before. It might have been a great, somebody might have said, I need to go and talk to somebody. But they took that opportunity away. They said, nope, we're not even going to figure it out. We're not even going to arrange things differently or mitigate the circumstance. We're just going to shut down. We'll go online. Well, you know what's happened to those churches since then? People haven't been back. A lot of people haven't been back because they were told, well, you don't need to come here. You can just watch it on a screen. Or maybe you don't even need to do that. I'm sure that was not intentional at all. And if you are watching this in subtitles for a different language, that was sarcasm. And also, that was Lola sneezing. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. YouTube has slowed the growth of the channel. I believe it's taking subs away, taking views away. There's a little issue that makes me really mad because I don't want a video that a man somewhere needs to see or a woman needs to see, and it's not going to get to them. So please hit like to help it go forth and share it. Please share it with your friends. That helps too. This man's voice needs to be heard far and wide. And you're not going to see a lot of it on YouTube. I got this off of Twitter. But we are just doing social commentary and analyzing this speech.
Actions, intentional or unintentional, that the sacraments don't actually matter. Because of this, countless people died alone without access to the sacraments, and it's a tragedy we must never forget. As Catholics, we can look to so many examples of heroic shepherds who gave their lives for their people, and ultimately, the church. We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. Over the centuries, there have been great wars, great famines, and yes, even great diseases, all that came with a level of lethality and danger. But in each of those examples, church leaders leaned into their vocations and ensured that their people received the sacraments. Great saints like St. Damien of Malachi, who knew the dangers of his ministry, stayed for 11 years as a spiritual leader to the leper colonies of Hawaii. His heroism is looked at today as something set apart and unique, when ideally, it should not be unique at all. For as a father loves his child, so a shepherd should love his spiritual children too. That goes even more so for our bishops, these men who are present-day apostles. Our bishops once had adoring crowds of people kissing their rings and taking in their every word, but now relegate themselves to a position of inconsequential existence. Now, when a bishop of a diocese or the bishops' conference as a whole puts out an important document on this matter or that, nobody even takes a moment to read it, let alone follow it. No. Today, our shepherds are far more concerned with keeping the doors open to the chancery than they are with saying the difficult stuff out loud. It seems that the only time you hear from your bishops is when it's time for the annual appeal, whereas we need our bishops to be vocal about the teachings of the church, setting aside their own personal comfort and embracing their cross. Our bishops are not politicians, but shepherds. So instead of fitting in the world by going along to get along, they too need to stay in their lane and lead. I say all of this not from a place of anger, as we get the leaders we deserve. But this does make me reflect on staying in my lane and focusing on my own vocation and how I can be a better father and husband and live in the world, but not be of it. Focusing on my vocation while praying and fasting for these men will do more for the church than me complaining about her leaders. Because there seems to be so much confusion coming from our leaders, there needs to be concrete examples for people to look to in places like Benedictine, a little Kansas college built high on a bluff above the Missouri River, are showing the world how an ordered, Christ-centered existence is the recipe for success. You need to look no further than the examples all around this campus, where over the past 20 years, enrollment has doubled, construction and revitalization are a constant part of life, and people, the students, the faculty and staff, are thriving. This didn't happen by chance. In a deliberate movement to embrace traditional Catholic values,
I have a feeling enrollment's going to get even higher. Because if I were sending a child to college or I was making a decision to go to college, I wouldn't go unless it was like something that necessitated a degree like engineering or, pre-med or pre-law or something that requires not some baloney, sociology or whatever degree doesn't mean anything. Well, heck, this is the best college, and I'm not Catholic. It's the best advertisement for a college I've ever seen. I'd love to see what happens with their enrollment now.
Benedictine has gone from just another liberal arts school with nothing to set it apart to a thriving beacon of light and a reminder to us all that when you embrace tradition, success, worldly and spiritual, will follow. I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify Him. Reading that article now shared all over the world, we see that in the complete surrender of self and a turning towards Christ, you will find happiness. Right here in a little town in Kansas, we find many inspiring lay people using their talents. President Minnis, Dr. Swafford, and Dr. Zimmerer are a few great examples right here on this very campus that will keep the light of Christ burning bright for generations to come. Being locked in with your vocation and staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life. It is essential that we focus on our own state in life, whether that be as a layperson, a priest, or religious. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, you are sitting at the edge of the rest of your lives. Each of you has the potential to leave a legacy that transcends yourselves and this era of human existence. In the small ways, by living out your vocation, you will ensure that God's church continues and the world is enlightened by your example. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career?
We're going to do this in two parts. Sorry to make it a cliffhanger. This is the best college speech ever. He mentioned legacy. I don't remember a darn thing about legacy when I graduated. Nobody talks about that. It was all about what you're going to accomplish in your career, la, 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 la. And Harrison is about to get into that. He's about to talk about the most diabolical lies that have been told, and they have been told to women. Now, I am not giving women an out. This is not an excuse I'm trying to make. I am saying They told us lies. We chose to believe them. You know, we chose to believe them against our better judgment. Well, I don't know if we have that, but you know what I'm saying? Like against logic. You know, for example, you can be awesome at your career and you can be an awesome mom. You can do it all. It's like there's not the time in the day. You know, that how are you an awesome mom? Your kid's in childcare all day. You can't do both. That's just, I'm not trying to be mean to feminists who believe that, but it's math. You know, you have only 100%. So you can't be, oh, I give 100% to this and I give 100% to this. It's like, no. You can divvy it up however you divvy it up, but you only have 100. What are you going to give it to? Career, family, children? What? But the thing is that reality dictates that choices must be made, priorities must be made. You can't be in two places at once. But apparently, saying that, as I have said it to young women before, makes you evil. So, in the next video, part 2 of Harrison Buttkiss's, I don't like his name. It's hard to say it without, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But in the next part of Harrison's speech, he is going to say just truth bombs going off everywhere. So please join me on that one too. I'm so excited about this young man. I don't watch football, but I might have to start because what a fantastic young man, and what a brave man to say the things he's saying and to challenge the people he's challenging. Very powerful people that can destroy, you know, a lot of what he's worked for. But he is smart enough to know that those powerful people can't take the truth. They can't take that. And that's so beautiful how strong he is. Wow. All right. Well, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed that first part of what he has to say. And we're going to get to see the next part very soon. I love you guys. And hope you do something that feeds your soul. And I hope you can find some peace today. I'll see you on the next one. Love you. Bye.